Imagine a life where every single day is filled with purpose, where your actions, thoughts, and decisions all move in a single, organized, and steady direction. Sounds difficult, right? But ancient philosophers knew that without order, a life inevitably falls apart. When you lack a plan, every problem drags you down, every distraction defeats you, and every emotion dominates you. It's no coincidence that great thinkers insisted so much on discipline and organization. Today, I'm going to reveal 15 essential philosophical lessons to help you take total control of your life. If you apply these ideas, you won't just stop feeling lost. You'll build a solid, serene existence. Before we begin, go to the comments and write, "Today, I commit to ordering my life." With this, you make a pact with yourself and take the first step towards your best self. Write it now and make it real. And before we start, as is customary, if you find value in these videos, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay informed about the latest insights. Let's begin. 1. Wake up. Your life won't fix itself. This is the truth many people avoid until the pain becomes impossible to ignore. We've been taught to wait, to have faith that something or someone will come to rescue us, to solve our problems, to give us a new opportunity without us having to lift a finger. But the harsh truth is this: no one is coming to save you. There is no mentor, partner, friend, boss, or guru who can do the work that only you can do for yourself. The disorder you feel both inside and outside of you is the direct consequence of every choice you avoided, every uncomfortable conversation you postponed, every habit you knew you should break but decided to keep feeding. As long as you continue to deny that you are primarily responsible for the state you're in, you will remain trapped. And this isn't punishment. It's consequence. The external chaos, the pile of tasks, the toxic relationships, the debt, the dissatisfaction, the lack of direction is nothing more than a mirror of your internal disorder. And yet, there you are, convinced that it's normal to live exhausted, confused, and unfulfilled. The real danger isn't the chaos itself, but how you become accustomed to it, how your mind starts to see it as part of your identity. This is just how I am, you tell yourself. My life is like this. And in that moment, you've fallen into the most destructive trap, the belief that there's no way out. But there is a way out, and it's not comfortable. It's not fast. It's not magical. The first step isn't making lists or reading more books or waiting for this phase to pass. The first step, the most brutal of all, is to take total responsibility for your life. Not partial, total. Everything you've tolerated, everything you've allowed, everything you've let grow due to a lack of action. It's there because you let it be. And yes, it can hurt to admit this, but it's also incredibly liberating. Because if you created it, you can change it. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius knew this when he wrote that the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, and the quality of your thoughts depends on the level of responsibility you're willing to assume. You can't keep blaming your parents, your past, the system, your ex, the weather, traffic, or the algorithm. The day you stop pointing outwards and start looking inwards is the day you begin to reclaim your power. How do you know if you're stuck in chaos? Look at your symptoms. I'm not talking about illnesses. I'm talking about clear signals. You procrastinate everything. You surround yourself with people who don't inspire you. You complain more than you feel grateful. You live reactively instead of mindfully. Your body is tired for no apparent reason, and when no one is watching, you feel like you're wasting your potential. That is the silent cry of your soul, begging you to wake up. But you choose to silence it with distractions, with food, with shows, with alcohol, with social media, with anything that keeps you from facing the obvious. Your life won't change. Until you do. Philosophers have long taught that we can't control what happens, but we can control how we respond to it. The question is, are you going to continue reacting like a victim, or are you going to respond like the protagonist of your story? Because you get to decide whether you use your pain as an excuse or as a driving force. No one is coming to lift you up, and that's not a reason to give up, but a reason to grow stronger. Because if you take that first step, if you take command, then everything begins to change, not because the world becomes fairer, but because you become tougher. World stays the same, but you are no longer the same person. Today is the day to look in the mirror without excuses, to stop lying to yourself, to do what you know you need to do. You don't need to be motivated. You just need to be tired of staying the same. Wake up. Your life won't fix itself. Get up, take control, and start building the version of yourself you deserve to be. It won't be easy, but it will be entirely yours. If this resonates with you, don't let it pass you by. Go to the comments and write, "Today I begin to take control," and let that be your first act of responsibility. *2. Your schedule is your soul. While it may sound like an exaggeration, it's not. What you do every day, hour by hour, task by task, is silently shaping who you are and who you are becoming. It's not what you think about yourself that determines your life. It's what you do with your time. Every time you say yes to something you don't care about, you're selling a part of your existence, and not for freedom, but for distraction, for validation, for a false sense of movement. There's an uncomfortable truth many prefer to avoid. If you don't design your day, someone else will. And that someone could be your boss, your social media, your fears, or anyone who knows how to exploit your indecisiveness. Because time, unlike money, cannot be saved. It can only be invested or wasted. There's no middle ground. We've been led to believe that being busy is a sign of success. That if you're not rushing, if you're not constantly responding to messages, if you don't have back-to-back meetings all day, then you're wasting your time. But being busy is not the same as being productive. In fact, many of the busiest people are the ones who make the least progress. Why? Because they lack clarity. They confuse movement with progress. Their schedule is not built from intention, but from reaction. The result? Days that slip away on urgent but unimportant tasks. Weeks that feel repetitive. Years that pass, leaving you with the feeling that you did a lot but accomplished very little. Marcus Aurelius warned against this centuries ago. Do not act as if you were going to live for 10,000 years. Death is at your heels. While you live while you may, be good. And being good to yourself starts by honoring your time. Your schedule shouldn't be a prison. It should be a reflection of your deepest priorities. Most people don't design their day, they simply survive it. They wake up, and the first thing they do is check their phone, giving the world direct access to their attention. From there, it's all downhill. They jump from one task to another without intention. They react to the urgent, they postpone the important, and they go to bed exhausted, but unfulfilled. Sound familiar? Then you need more than just a to-do list. You need a life. Philosophy applied to time. And that starts with one brutally honest question. What would my day look like if I truly respected myself? If you valued your energy, your mind, your dreams, What would you say yes to? What would you say no to? Designing a schedule that works for you isn't about filling it with activities. It's about learning to choose with intention. It's about prioritizing what brings you closer to the life you want to build and eliminating, without guilt, what only fills space. Sometimes, the greatest productivity lies in what you decide not to do. Start small. Block out moments to think, to create, to care for your body. Protect those hours as if they were sacred, because they are. What isn't on your calendar isn't. In your life, it's not enough to wish for time for yourself. You have to make space for it. And yes, you'll have to learn to say no without unnecessary justifications or feelings of guilt. Every no you give from a place of self-respect is a yes to your peace, your focus, your evolution. Epictetus taught that freedom is not about doing what one wants, but about not being a slave to the desires of others. Saying no isn't selfish. It's being mindful. Because if you don't defend your time, no one else will. Life is made of days, days are made of hours, and hours are made of choices. If you don't choose, others will choose for you, and they'll do it without thinking about what's best for you. So, look at it clearly. Your schedule isn't just a piece of paper or an app. It's your soul written in minutes. Every blank space is an opportunity. Every commitment is a promise. And every day you live without intention is a day that won't come back. If you're ready to stop reacting and start designing, go to the comments and write, "Today I become the architect of my time." Let that be the first step to reclaiming your life. 3. Life-saving rituals. The gates of your day. This is no exaggeration. It's those small, seemingly insignificant moments at the beginning and end of your day that determine whether you're building a life with intention or just surviving on autopilot. The first 30 minutes after you wake up and the last 30 minutes before you fall asleep are sacred. They are the gateways through which the energy that defines your day enters, or the chaos that ruins it. What you do the moment you wake up isn't a detail, it's a declaration. You're telling the world and yourself who's in control. If your first act is to open your phone and dive into messages, news, social media, or to-do lists, you've just handed the helm of your life over to external forces. You've surrendered your mental clarity before you've even had your first cup of coffee. The same thing happens at night. If you end your day staring at a bright screen, consuming useless information, comparing yourself, or escaping silence with distractions, you're closing the day with a saturated mind and an agitated body. You're not resting. You're just escaping. Ancient wisdom teaches that control begins with the simplest things. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius began his days by remembering that he was made to act with virtue, not to indulge in fleeting pleasures. You, too, can reclaim dominance over your time and your mind by choosing to ritualize your waking and sleeping. This isn't about following a perfect routine from a self-help book. It's about designing your own rituals, the ones that align with what you need and what you want to cultivate. Maybe it's writing down your thoughts before the world's noise drowns them out. Maybe it's reading something that elevates your mind, breathing in silence, stretching your body with respect, or simply looking out the window and remembering you're alive. At night, perhaps you need to let go of the day by writing what you learned, being grateful for what happened, or simply observing how you felt without judgment. Closing with intention, like lowering a curtain, knowing that there will be another show tomorrow. This type of ritual doesn't just calm the mind. It trains the brain to find order amid chaos. The problem is that we've underestimated the power of the everyday. We think that to change our lives, We need something huge, a dramatic turn, an epiphany. But the truth is, what changes your life are small habits, repeated with consciousness. Those first and last decisions of the day have a domino effect. If you start in a state of disorder, everything drags disorder with it. If you end in agitation, you don't rest. You just repeat the anxiety of the following day. That's why you need to eliminate distractions before they eliminate you. Your phone isn't the problem, your relationship with it is. Notifications aren't the enemy, your dependence on them is. Every time you choose a distraction, you're saying, "This deserves my attention more than my peace, my clarity, my purpose." And that, repeated daily, slowly destroys your life without you even noticing. You cannot aspire to a fulfilling life if you don't master the first and last acts of each day. The rest might vary: your work, your relationships, your responsibilities, but those 2 moments, sunrise and sunset, must be yours, sacred, non-negotiable, because that is where you plant the seeds of presence, calm, and focus. Design your system of personal rituals. Don't copy someone else's. Ask yourself, what do I need to start my day in peace? What helps me close with lightness? Create your formula, protect it, make it part of your identity. When these rituals become part of you, you'll notice something powerful. Your days will stop feeling like a constant battle and will begin to feel like something you are directing, not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer a victim of inertia. If you're ready to stop surviving your days and start living them with purpose, go to the comments and write, "From today, my rituals are sacred." That will be the first step to taking control from where it truly all begins. Your mornings and your nights. 4. Your environment is a reflection of your mind. This isn't just a pretty metaphor. It's a reality you can verify right now. Look around. You. Observe your desk, your room, your kitchen, your car. What do you see? Clutter, accumulation, things out of place that you've been ignoring for days, weeks, or even months. That's not a coincidence. It's a visual extension of what's happening inside you. And no matter how much you try to deny it, no matter if you say that's how your creativity works, or that you'll get to it when you have time, the truth is that external chaos is feeding your internal chaos. Every misplaced object, every forgotten corner, every space that seems to be waiting for a decision that never arrives silently drains your energy. You don't notice it immediately, but you feel it. A lack of clarity, a diffuse anxiety, a fatigue with no apparent cause. Your environment is sabotaging your emotional stability, and until you confront it, you'll continue to feel stuck. Disorder isn't just an aesthetic problem. It's a mental problem. Physical accumulation is often a form of avoidance. You save objects just in case. You keep clothes you don't wear. You hold on to papers, files, and memories that only take up space but give you nothing. And without realizing it, you're repeating the same pattern with your emotions, your thoughts, your relationships. You postpone decisions, accumulate tasks, and cling to connections that stopped making sense long ago. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." But how can you have clear thoughts if your environment screams confusion? You need to take control, not through rigidity, but through consciousness. Minimalist techniques aren't a fad. They are practical tools to reclaim your focus. It's not about throwing everything away. It's about keeping only what truly adds value. The first step is simple but powerful. Choose a small space: your desk, your backpack, a single drawer, and clean it with intention. With each object, ask yourself, does this bring me value, or does it just take up space? Do I really need it, or am I keeping it out of inertia? Do it without guilt. Do it with firmness. And repeat this process, one corner at a time. You will feel relief, not just because the place looks better, but because your mind begins to breathe. Organizing your environment is a silent declaration. You are taking yourself seriously. You're choosing not to live surrounded by visual and mental noise. You are creating the conditions for your energy to focus on what matters. Do you want more productivity? Start with order. Do you want more creativity? Free up space. Do you want more peace? Eliminate the excess. The mind needs structure just as much as it needs freedom. A clean environment isn't rigid, it's functional. It's a space that reminds you of your priorities. It's not about perfection, but about purpose. And this isn't limited to the physical world. You must also organize your emotional environment. People who only show up to complain, habits that sabotage your discipline, routines you repeat just out of custom. All of these also take up space, and the worst kind of space, vital space. You cannot move forward if you are carrying relationships without reciprocity. If you feed habits every day that pull you away from your best self, or if you tolerate dynamics that you know no longer serve you. The philosopher Epictetus explained it plainly. The key is to know what things are up to you and what things are not. Your environment is up to you. Your decisions are up to you. And by cleaning up your outer world, you are taking the first concrete step to also clean up your inner world. What surrounds you influences you more than you think. If every time you walk into your home, you feel weight, noise, and tension, you don't need more willpower. You need less clutter. Eliminate what doesn't add value: things, people, habits. Make space for what does. For what elevates you. For what reminds you who you want to be. Because a clear mind needs a clear environment, and a life with direction cannot flourish in the midst of chaos. If you're ready to reclaim your focus from the ground up, go to the comments and write, "Today, I'm organizing outside to heal inside." Do it, and start building an environment that reflects the clarity you deserve. 5. Plan or perish. The power of long-term thinking. Plan or perish might sound dramatic, but it's a precise truth. If you aren't planning for the long term, you are condemned to live a life of constant crisis management. Your existence becomes a series of fires you put out without understanding why they're burning. And the worst part is, you feel like you're in motion, but you're not making any progress. You're busy, but nothing really changes. You're tired, but no closer to what you truly want. Why? Because you lack direction. Because you're confusing urgency with importance. Because you're reacting, but not designing. And design, the vision, the strategic thinking, is what transforms a frantic life into a purposeful one. Long-term thinking isn't about postponing the present. It's precisely what gives the present meaning. It's the understanding that every decision you make today either builds up or tears down the you of tomorrow. The philosopher Epictetus was clear about this. Don't be carried away by the moment. Think of the consequences. But we live in a culture that idolizes the immediate, rewards the urgent, and scorns the planned. And that's our downfall. We confuse activity with progress. We obsess over what's happening this week and forget that years are built day by day. The future you doesn't need you to be perfect today. They need you to start to think, to choose with intention. They need you to ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now bringing me closer to or further away from the life I want to have? Strategic vision isn't just for entrepreneurs or leaders. It's for anyone who doesn't want to waste their existence. It's about sitting down with yourself and deciding, What do I want to achieve this year? What would be real progress? What does a well-lived life look like for me? And once you have that clarity, you need to break it down to translate that vision into concrete steps. Because big goals aren't achieved with sheer willpower. They're achieved with structure. Annual goals are useless if you don't turn them into monthly actions. And monthly goals are useless if you don't translate them into what you'll do this week. Anyone who doesn't do this exercise lives trapped between the anxiety of what they want and the guilt of what they're not doing. They know they could be doing more, but they don't know where to start, and that paralyzes them. Break it down. Organize. Decide. Don't just do it once and forget it. Revisit your plan every week, adjust and recalibrate. But do not improvise your life as if your time has no value. Marcus Aurelius, in the midst of wars and imperial decisions, found time to write, reflect, and think strategically. Can't you, who are not yet an emperor, do the same? Plan, because a plan doesn't just give you direction. It also gives you peace. It reduces the noise, eliminates the feeling of running without knowing where you're going. And most importantly, it reminds you that you are not at the mercy of chaos, that you can choose, that you can act with perspective. Long-term thinking also implies making sacrifices. You can't do everything. You can't say yes to every opportunity, every plan, every whim. You have to protect your energy as a limited resource, because it is. And if everything matters, then nothing matters. Choose. Focus. Every time you say yes to something without thinking, you're saying no to what could truly transform your life. The art of planning is also the art of prioritizing. And prioritizing takes courage, the courage to disappoint external expectations to honor your internal vision. Don't confuse movement with progress. Being busy doesn't mean you're moving forward. Only the person who plans, evaluates, and adjusts can say with certainty, I'm closer than I was yesterday. Everything else is an illusion of progress. It's fatigue without direction, effort without purpose. Plan or perish not, because everything can go exactly as you plan. But because without a plan, you become a satellite orbiting the urgent, the external, and the trivial. If you're ready to stop improvising and start building with a vision, go to the comments and write, from today, my future has a plan. That will be the first step to stop surviving and start leading your own life. Point 6. What you consume shapes how you think. A digital diet. This isn't a trend or a catchy term to sell you more productivity. It's an urgent necessity. Because even if you don't notice it, what you consume every day with your eyes and ears is shaping your mind, your mood, and your way of thinking. I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking about what you see on social media, what you hear on the news, what you read, who you talk to, what stimuli you let into your nervous system without a filter. We live in an era where an abundance of information is the new poison, and like all poisons, its power lies in the fact that it's disguised as pleasure. You feel entertained, informed, and connected, but little by little, you become more anxious, more scattered, more addicted to the noise. Can't you see it? Your mind no longer rests. It can't stand silence. It needs to fill every free space with something, a video, a notification, someone else's opinion. And that's how you lose the most valuable thing you have. Your attention. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter of pleasure and motivation. It's what makes you feel good when you achieve something, or when you see likes, endless scrolls, and impactful headlines. But if you're not mindful, you become a slave to stimuli that only give you immediate pleasure and cloud your ability to focus. That's why you need a dopamine diet. It's not about eliminating technology, but about re-educating your brain to once again enjoy silence, a deep read, a conversation without distractions, or working on something important without looking for a new dose of novelty every 5 minutes. Because as long as your mind is saturated with microstimuli, it will be incapable of sustaining attention on anything truly worthwhile. Ask yourself this with brutal honesty. What I consume daily, does it nourish my mind or just fill it with noise? Reading is not the same as scrolling. Listening to a deep conversation is not the same as exposing yourself to a constant stream of empty opinions. Consciously choosing what you let into your mind is not the same as letting the algorithm decide for you. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you that matters, but how you interpret it." But if your mind is full of mental clutter, how can you expect to interpret life with wisdom? Start by curating your digital environment. Clean up accounts, channels, people, and sources that only feed drama, complaining, and comparison. You don't need to know everything that's happening in the world all the time. You don't need to have an opinion on every viral topic. You need clarity. You need focus. You need to protect your attention as the most valuable asset of the 21st century because it is. Major companies fight for it, and social media platforms are designed to hijack it. And you, without realizing it, are giving away hours of your life every day to content that leaves you with nothing. A mindful mental diet involves setting boundaries, screen-free moments of the day, spaces without notifications, routines that prioritize the deep over the superficial. At first, you might feel restless. That's normal. You've trained your brain for hyperstimulation. But if you endure the initial discomfort, something begins to change. You think with more clarity, you make better decisions, you focus better, and you become more a master of yourself. Because the noise subsides and your inner voice becomes clearer. Marcus Aurelius didn't have to deal with Instagram, but he did understand that the mind had to be cultivated with rigor. The soul is dyed by the color of its thoughts, he said. Today, we could say your soul is dyed by the content you consume. You can't have peace if you feed your mind with chaos. You can't have direction if you fill your attention with distractions. You can't have clarity if every day you water the seed of anxiety with cheap dopamine. If you're ready to take control of your attention and start a true mental diet, go to the comments and write, "I choose to nourish my mind with intention." This will be your first act of freedom in a world that wants to keep you distracted. 7. Your relationships are a reflection of your mind. They don't take up physical space like a cluttered room, but they generate the same effect on your mind: confusion, exhaustion, and a lack of clarity. These are relationships that camouflage themselves as normal, even necessary, but which, day by day, drain your energy, your self-esteem, and your focus. Sometimes it's a lifelong friend, sometimes a family member, a partner, or a colleague, people with whom you share time but not purpose. They are presences that, instead of propelling you forward, keep you stuck, not with shouting, but with micro gestures. The constant criticism disguised as advice, the sarcasm that devalues you, the emotional demand that makes you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. And the most dangerous part is that often you don't notice it until you're completely worn out. A toxic relationship doesn't always shout. It often whispers, manipulates, and disguises itself as loyalty or commitment. But your body knows. You feel tense before you see that person. You find it hard to be yourself. You leave every encounter with less energy than you had before. You start modifying your behavior to avoid conflict, to not make things difficult, to not make a big deal out of it. That's not connection. That's emotional prison. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius said you must protect your mind more than anything else, because it is there that your life is born. And if you are surrounded by people who sow doubt, insecurity, or guilt, your mind becomes a constant battlefield. The first step is to detect these relationships, not from a place of judgment, but from awareness. Ask yourself, do I feel lighter or more burdened after being with this person? Can I speak freely, or do I walk on tiptoes? Do they inspire me to grow, or do they sabotage me under the guise of realism? The answers aren't always comfortable, but they are necessary. Because as long as you surround yourself with relationships that scatter you, it will be impossible to have direction. You can have a great vision, excellent habits, and well-laid plans, but if the people around you are not aligned with your growth, you will end up stuck. And here's where something crucial comes in: set radical boundaries. Not passive limits or endless explanations, but clear, firm boundaries, and if necessary, final ones. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone can enter your inner world without a filter. You have every right to decide with whom you share your time, your energy, and your vulnerability. The philosopher Epictetus taught this with wisdom. Do not allow people to enter through the gate of your conscious judgment. It's not selfishness. It's mental health. It's self-love. It's understanding that your peace is worth more than any relationship based on history or habit. But it's not just about eliminating the toxic. It's about cultivating relationships that organize you from within. People who elevate you with their example, who don't need to tell you how to be better because they show it in how they live. Relationships that don't compete with you but celebrate your progress, that confront you with respect, that inspire you without pressure, that make you feel more like yourself, not less. These relationships don't just give you peace. They give you direction, because they align you with the version of yourself you want to build. Learn to surround yourself with those who align you, not those who scatter you. Sometimes that means spending more time alone, and that's okay. The silence is 1,000 times better than the emotional noise of a poorly managed relationship. A deep conversation with yourself is better than 10 superficial ones with someone who doesn't understand you. When you clean up your emotional environment, your mind clears, your body relaxes, and your life begins to get in order from the inside out. If you're ready to stop tolerating relationships that don't honor you, go to the comments and write, "I choose to surround myself with people who align me." That will be your first act of emotional order, and your peace will thank you for it. Point 8. Your body is also organization. Your body is also organization. It is not a separate accessory from your mind. It is not a simple vehicle that takes you from one place to another. It is your primary environment. It is the physical space where everything you dream, think, feel, and decide happens. Ignoring it, neglecting it, or treating it as something secondary is a mistake that will eventually cost you dearly. Because the state of your body directly influences your mental clarity, your energy, your ability to concentrate, and your emotional stability. You cannot expect to have focus, serenity, and willpower if your body is exhausted, inflamed, and disconnected from you. The connection is profound. When your body moves, your mind gets in order. Exercise is not just a matter of aesthetics or physical health. It is a daily tool for mental cleansing. Every time you activate your body, you release accumulated tension. You naturally release dopamine. You oxygenate your brain. You improve your mood. You don't need to train like an Olympic athlete. You don't need to make it complicated. Simple daily routines. Walking with intention. Stretching when you wake up. Lifting weights consciously. Practicing deep breathing while you move your body. The important thing isn't the intensity. It's the consistency. Daily movement isn't a whim. It's an active internal organization. And just as important as moving is resting. We live in a world that idolizes constant activity, that measures personal worth based on productivity, but that forgets that rest isn't a waste of time. It's an investment in clarity. A saturated mind doesn't need more coffee. It needs more deep sleep. A tired body doesn't need motivation. It needs recovery. Marcus Aurelius understood this when he wrote that you should not force yourself beyond the natural limit of your abilities. Rest, restorative sleep, and mindful breaks are essential parts of a well-organized life. They are not luxuries. They are necessities. And you can't talk about bodily organization without talking about nutrition. What you eat doesn't just affect your body, it directly affects your mind. Sugars, ultra-processed foods, excessive alcohol, all of that doesn't just ruin your physique. It also sabotages your clarity, your energy, and your focus. Eating well isn't an act of vanity. It's an act of mental strategy. An organized nutrition plan, rich in real foods and the nutrients your brain needs, is a profound act of respect for your potential. Don't eat to fill emotional voids. Eat to think better, to act better, to feel stronger on every level. Your body is the container of your life, and like any container, if you don't take care of it, it deteriorates. It's not about seeking physical perfection. It's about building a physical state that serves as a solid foundation for everything else. A brilliant mind trapped in a weak body will always be limited. A great purpose supported by a fragile body will always be at risk. Order begins at home, and your body is your first home. You don't need to be radical, but you do need to be mindful. Move every day. Prioritize sleep. Eat with wisdom. Respect your body's natural cycles. And build a routine that, far from overwhelming you, supports you. Because when your body feels good, your mind has the space to think better, decide better, and create better. If you're ready to treat your body as the first act of organizing your life, go to the comments and write, "Today, I'm starting to order my energy from within." Your mind, your purpose, and your future will thank you for it. 9. Organize your finances. Chaotic money, chaotic life. Chaotic money, chaotic life. It's an uncomfortable truth that many people prefer to ignore until financial disorder blows up in their faces. Because money, even if it's just a medium of exchange, affects every corner of your life. Your mental peace, your decisions, your relationships, your ability to plan for the future. If you don't organize your finances, they will organize you, but not for your own good. Living on the edge. Counting coins, fearing every bill and every unexpected expense, is not freedom. It's an invisible cage that keeps you constantly reactive, anxious, and limited. And even if you try to convince yourself that it's not all about money, the truth is, if you don't have control over it, it's very difficult to have control over any other aspect of your life. The first step isn't to earn more money. It's not about getting a raise or starting a business overnight. The first step is to build a basic system of financial control. Know how much comes in, know how much goes out, and know what you spend every single dollar on. It's not exciting, it's not glamorous, it's discipline. It's respect for your energy. Every cent that passes through your hands represents time from your life invested. If you don't handle it with care, you're disrespecting your own effort. Marcus Aurelius said, "You should treat your mind as a sacred object." Today we should say, you should treat your money with the same reverence, because it is a reflection of your mind in action, whether it's organized or chaotic. Financial control doesn't mean extreme rigidity or living in scarcity. It means clarity. It means knowing that every expense has a purpose. It's about learning to spend with intention, not on impulse. Because every time you buy something to numb an emotion, to fill a void, or to impress others, you don't just lose money, you lose control. And lost control in small decisions turns into great desperation. When chaos reaches its peak, how many times have you justified an expense by saying, "I deserve it," when in reality you were buying future anxiety? The philosopher Epictetus taught us to distinguish between what is up to us and what is not. Your spending habits are up to you. Your financial decisions are also up to you. Organizing your money also means eliminating mental debt, those unresolved commitments, pending payments, and financial promises that you drag month after month like a silent weight. It's not just the economic debt. It's the constant stress of knowing you owe someone, that something is pending that takes away your freedom. Every debt you carry, visible or invisible, takes up space in your mind. It drains your attention, energy, and focus. Freeing yourself from these burdens is not just a financial act. It's an act of mental health. And like everything in life, it starts with small decisions. Pay what you owe, stop accumulating things mindlessly, build an emergency fund even if it's minimal, and live below your means to build above your expectations. Financial disorder isn't just a practical problem. It's a reflection of mental patterns that you need to correct. And when you do, everything changes. You regain a sense of mastery over your life. You make decisions from a place of calm, not fear. You invest in yourself, not in temporary emotional painkillers. You live with more dignity, with more lightness, with more clarity. Don't wait to hit rock bottom to act. Don't let your life be a constant reaction to emergencies you could have foreseen. Don't confuse the moment of immediate satisfaction with real progress. Organizing your money is organizing your life. It's not about being rich. It's about being free. If you're ready to take control of your life, starting with your finances, go to the comments and write, "Today, I'm ordering my money and my mind." Every dollar you take care of is a step towards your true freedom. 10. Technology, your ally or your jailer? That's how radical the choice is that you face every day, even if you aren't always aware of it. Technology has the power to multiply your time, expand your ability to organize, and simplify your life in ways that were previously unthinkable. But it also has the power to fragment your attention, scatter your mind, and trap you in endless cycles of distraction. It's not the tool that defines the effect. It's the use you make of it. You can use apps and digital systems as allies to build a clearer, more focused, more intentional life. Or you can end up as another slave, trapped in constant notifications, in endless scrolling, in the illusion of connection that actually pulls you away from yourself. The first step is a mindful one. Use technology as a means, not as an end. You don't need to get rid of your phone or flee from the digital world. You need to domesticate it. You need to remind every tool who's in charge. Use list apps to empty your mind, not to fill it with unnecessary to-dos. Use reminders to build habits, not to live in a state of constant alarm. Use calendars to design your time, not to overload it with meaningless activities. The difference isn't in the tool. It's in your intention. Marcus Aurelius lived in a world far less saturated with stimuli, but his advice remains relevant. Rule your mind, or it will rule you. Today, we could say, rule your screens, or they will rule you. Another essential act of modern order is digital hygiene. Just as you clean your physical space to free your mind, you need to clean your digital space to reclaim your attention. Accumulated emails, forgotten files, social media full of noise, all of that doesn't just take up space on your devices. It takes up space in your mind. Schedule specific times to delete what is no longer useful. Unsubscribe from what you don't read. Delete apps that only serve to steal your time. Organize your files the way you would organize your home, keeping only what's essential, what truly adds value. Creating a healthy relationship with your screen is indispensable if you want to live with intention in the 21st century. It's not just about screen time, it's about quality of use. Establish screen-free zones and times. When you wake up, during meals, before you go to sleep. Reclaim spaces of silence, deep reading, and conversation without distractions. Every minute you spend without compulsively looking at a screen is an act of rebellion and mental sanity. Don't expect social media or apps to respect your attention. They aren't designed for that. You must protect it. Technology is a powerful tool, but it will never be neutral. It will always tend to demand more of you, more time, more data, more attention. You decide if you enter that game or if you turn it into a real ally. Well-used digital systems, clear lists, organized calendars, smart reminders can free your mind to think, create, and live better. But if you don't control them, you'll end up being a modern slave, hyper-connected and disconnected from yourself at the same time. That think of every app, every notification, every click as a question. Does this bring me closer to or further away from the life I want to build? If you can't answer with a clear yes, it's time to rethink it. Because in a world where attention is the most valuable resource, those who master their relationship with technology will be the truly free. If you're ready to stop being a slave to your devices and start using them as strategic allies, go to the comments and write, "Today, I'm taking control of my technology." The life you want isn't built by scrolling. It's built with consciousness. 11. Order isn't linear. Stumble, but don't break. This is one of the hardest and most liberating lessons you can learn. No matter how much progress you make, no matter how much discipline you build, there will be days of backtracking, of chaos, of exhaustion. You won't always wake up on time. You won't always follow the perfect plan. You won't always maintain a clear mind. And that's okay. Falling is not the problem. The problem is believing that falling means you failed. The true disorder isn't in the setback, but in the surrender. As long as you keep returning to your path, as long as you keep getting up again and again, you are still moving forward. Life doesn't demand perfection. It demands consistency. Accepting a setback without giving up is a skill that defines your long-term growth. It's not indulgence. It's not an excuse. It's practical wisdom. The philosopher Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you respond that matters. When you stumble, when you break a streak, when you deviate from your habits, your first impulse might be to punish yourself, to give up, to think that all your effort was in vain. But that narrative is a trap. Every fall is an opportunity to reset, and conscious resets are one of the most underestimated powers you can cultivate. Don't wait to feel motivated. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Just decide to return. Reset today, in this very moment, with what you have, from where you are. Real discipline isn't rigid, it's flexible. It's a structure without rigidity. A tree that is too rigid breaks in a storm. A flexible one bends, but does not snap. You need to build a structure that guides you, but doesn't suffocate. A system of habits and routines that supports you, but also allows you to adapt when life doesn't cooperate. Because sooner or later, life will not cooperate. There will be unforeseen events, emotions, losses, and overwhelm. And if your order only works when everything is under control, then it's not true order. True order is what remains even when everything around you changes. Learn to fall better each time. Not to avoid the fall, but to fall more wisely. Don't dramatize the mistake. Don't turn a stumble into a prophecy of failure. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that the perfection of character is to live each day as if it were the last, without haste, without apathy, without hypocrisy. He doesn't say, live without failing. He says, live with integrity. If you failed today, learn. If you took a step back today, readjust. If you were overcome by laziness, fear, or distraction today, don't stay there. Breathe. Observe. Correct. Return. There is no path to order that doesn't pass through disorder. There is no mastery without stumbling. There is no strength without scars. Every time you get up after a fall, you're not just restoring what you had built. You're making yourself stronger, more resilient, more of a master of yourself. Not because you don't fail, but because you no longer allow the failure to define you. Life isn't about avoiding chaos. It's about learning to navigate it. About building an internal structure so solid that even when everything seems to be falling apart, your decision to move forward remains intact. That is true order. Not a straight line, but a conscious advance despite the curves, bumps, and falls. If you're ready to stop waiting for perfection and start building strength through every reset, go to the comments and write, "Today I fall, but I don't break." May your consistency be stronger than any fall. 12. Order as an act of self-love. Your order is an act of self-love, not an external obligation. It is not a rigid imposition, but a deep commitment to yourself. True order is not born from an obsession with control, but from a reverence for your own life. Every space you clean, every habit you build, every routine you respect isn't just about efficiency. It's about respect. It's a reminder that your time, your energy, and your existence deserve to be treated as something valuable. Order, when properly understood, is a gesture of love, care, and dignity. When you grasp this, your perception changes. Organizing isn't just tidying things up or checking off lists. It's an affirmation that your life matters, that you are not here to survive in chaos, but to build with intention. Every small act of organization, closing your day well, preparing your workspace, taking care of your body, cleaning your environment, becomes a silent prayer. I respect myself enough to create beauty around me. Marcus Aurelius spoke of living each day as if it were the last. How would you live if you knew that every daily act is part of your personal legacy? Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, because consistency is not maintained through brutal demands but through genuine recognition. Every step forward, every day you manage to be a little more orderly and intentional, is a victory that deserves to be seen. Don't be afraid of small changes. Also see yourself in the small moments of silent discipline. That time you resisted the temptation of distraction. That day you chose order over chaos. That instant when you treated yourself with respect. The celebration of progress is what nourishes consistency. Without joy on the journey, order becomes a prison. With joy, it becomes freedom. Transform your routines into meaningful rituals. You don't need to create complicated ceremonies. You just need to infuse what you do with intention. When you wake up, instead of rushing to your phone, dedicate a moment to connect with yourself. When you tidy your space, do it as if you were honoring a temple. When you plan your day, plant gratitude and purpose in every task. When you turn your daily actions into rituals of self-love, your life stops feeling like an endless list of obligations and begins to feel like a conscious work in progress. Do not allow your life to be an accident. Don't let chance, haste, or inertia decide for you. Your existence can be a work of art if you choose to design it that way. Every conscious choice, every act of order, every ritual of presence is another brushstroke on the canvas of your life. You don't need to control everything, but you can direct your energy toward what truly matters. The sacred isn't reserved for temples or great moments. It's in the way you choose to live the everyday. Organization, when born from love and not from pressure, becomes a spiritual act, not to be seen, not to be applauded, but because you know deep down that every day deserves to be lived with reverence. You deserve to live with reverence. If you're ready to turn your life into a work of art and make order a sacred act of self-love, go to the comments and write, "From today, I make my path sacred." Because your life is too valuable to be lived on autopilot. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "Put your life in order." I invite you to subscribe, activate notifications, and comment so that YouTube recognizes that these videos are useful for people like you. This motivates us to continue creating similar content in the future. I suggest you check out the last two videos we recommend. I sincerely appreciate your time and support. We'll see you in our next adventure. 11. Order isn't linear. Stumble, but don't break. This is one of the hardest and most liberating lessons you can learn. No matter how much progress you make, no matter how much discipline you build, there will be days of backtracking, of chaos, of exhaustion. You won't always wake up on time. You won't always follow the perfect plan. You won't always maintain a clear mind. And that's okay. Falling is not the problem. The problem is believing that falling means you've failed. The true disorder isn't in the setback, but in the surrender. As long as you keep returning to your path, as long as you keep getting up again and again, you are still moving forward. Life doesn't demand perfection. It demands consistency. Accepting a setback without giving up is a skill that defines your long-term growth. It's not indulgence. It's not an excuse. It's practical wisdom. The philosopher Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you respond that matters. When you stumble, when you break a streak, when you deviate from your habits, your first impulse might be to punish yourself, to give up, to think that all your effort was in vain. But that narrative is a trap. Every fall is an opportunity to reset, and conscious resets are one of the most underestimated powers you can cultivate. Don't wait to feel motivated. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Just decide to return. Reset today, in this very moment, with what you have, from where you are. Real discipline isn't rigid, it's flexible. It's a structure without rigidity. A tree that is too rigid breaks in a storm. A flexible one bends, but does not snap. You need to build a structure that guides you, but doesn't suffocate. A system of habits and routines that supports you, but also allows you to adapt when life doesn't cooperate. Because sooner or later, life will not cooperate. There will be unforeseen events, emotions, losses, and overwhelm. And if your order only works when everything is under control, then it's not true order. True order is what remains even when everything around you changes. Learn to fall better each time. Not to avoid the fall, but to fall more wisely. Don't dramatize the mistake. Don't turn a stumble into a prophecy of failure. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that the perfection of character is to live each day as if it were the last, without haste, without apathy, without hypocrisy. He doesn't say, live without failing. He says, live with integrity. If you failed today, learn. If you took a step back today, readjust. If you were overcome by laziness, fear, or distraction today, don't stay there. Breathe. Observe. Correct. Return. There is no path to order that doesn't pass through disorder. There is no mastery without stumbling. There is no strength without scars. Every time you get up after a fall, you're not just restoring what you had built. You're making yourself stronger, more resilient, more of a master of yourself. Not because you don't fail, but because you no longer allow the failure to define you. Life isn't about avoiding chaos. It's about learning to navigate it. About building an internal structure so solid that even when everything seems to be falling apart, your decision to move forward remains intact. That is true order. Not a straight line, but a conscious advance despite the curves, bumps, and falls. If you're ready to stop waiting for perfection and start building strength through every reset, go to the comments and write, "Today I fall, but I don't break." May your consistency be stronger than any fall. 12. Order as an act of self-love. Your order is an act of self-love, not an external obligation. It is not a rigid imposition, but a deep commitment to yourself. True order is not born from an obsession with control, but from a reverence for your own life. Every space you clean, every habit you build, every routine you respect isn't just about efficiency. It's about respect. It's a reminder that your time, your energy, and your existence deserve to be treated as something valuable. Order, when properly understood, is a gesture of love, care, and dignity. When you grasp this, your perception changes. Organizing isn't just tidying things up or checking off lists. It's an affirmation that your life matters, that you are not here to survive in chaos, but to build with intention. Every small act of organization, closing your day well, preparing your workspace, taking care of your body, cleaning your environment, becomes a silent prayer. I respect myself enough to create beauty around me. Marcus Aurelius spoke of living each day as if it were the last. How would you live if you knew that every daily act is part of your personal legacy? Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, because consistency is not maintained through brutal demands but through genuine recognition. Every step forward, every day you manage to be a little more orderly and intentional, is a victory that deserves to be seen. Don't be afraid of small changes. Also see yourself in the small moments of silent discipline. That time you resisted the temptation of distraction. That day you chose order over chaos. That instant when you treated yourself with respect. The celebration of progress is what nourishes. Consistency. Without joy on the journey, order becomes a prison. With joy, it becomes freedom. Transform your routines into meaningful rituals. You don't need to create complicated ceremonies. You just need to infuse what you do with intention. When you wake up, instead of rushing to your phone, dedicate a moment to connect with yourself. When you tidy your space, do it as if you were honoring a temple. When you plan your day, plant gratitude and purpose in every task. When you turn your daily actions into rituals of self-love, your life stops feeling like an endless list of obligations and begins to feel like a conscious work in progress. Do not allow your life to be an accident. Don't let chance, haste, or inertia decide for you. Your existence can be a work of art if you choose to design it that way. Every conscious choice, every act of order, every ritual of presence is another brushstroke on the canvas of your life. You don't need to control everything, but you can direct your energy toward what truly matters. The sacred isn't reserved for temples or great moments. It's in the way you choose to live the everyday. Organization, when born from love and not from pressure, becomes a spiritual act, not to be seen, not to be applauded, but because you know deep down that every day deserves to be lived with reverence. You deserve to live with reverence if you're ready to turn your life into a work of art and make order a sacred act of self-love. Go to the comments and write, "From today, I make my path sacred." Because your life is too valuable to be lived on autopilot. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "Put your life in order." I invite you to subscribe, activate notifications, and comment so that YouTube recognizes that these videos are useful for people like you. This motivates us to continue creating similar content in the future. I suggest you check out the last 2 videos we recommend. I sincerely appreciate your time and support. We'll see you in our next adventure.